Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Outside Insider podcast here on Philly Sports Network with myself, Liam Jenkins. You know the score by now. All things Eagles related, the last 7 days wrapped up, put inside a firework and launched into the atmosphere that says Happy 2020. Alright, I hope you all had a fantastic start to the new year. I hope Santa brought you everything you had on your wish list and that this new year is filled with blessings, success, happiness and hopefully an Eagles playoff run. I just wanted to firstly apologise for my voice. Unfortunately, I haven't hit puberty, if any of you are wondering. Like, wow, Liam sounds a bit husky today. New Year's Eve happened, I shouted a bit, and I've also got a terrible cold. It's verging on man flu, I'm drinking cups of tea and hot lemon like there's no tomorrow, but I'm fighting through, alright? I'm not letting you guys down. The wider media, the national media, the fans who are more of a... hey, football's a thing, you know, they come into the water cooler, on a Monday and say, oh, them Eagles played bad, they didn't watch the game, they don't know, they just saw it on the news, they had it on the radio on the way to work, and it's a bit more, oh, Seattle, oh, Russell Wilson, MVP candidate, oh, Eagles have got injuries, oh, that's not going to happen, no. Hey, they got to the playoffs, that's all that matters, right, doesn't matter what happens next, and I disagree, because I think this team can beat the Seahawks, and I'm not going to sit here putting up with the negativity that they won't. So what I've done is shoot myself in the foot in classic Eagles fashion and come up with 5 reasons why I think the Eagles will beat the Seattle Seahawks. And to me, it's very, very simple. I mean, the bad news is that if this does backfire, I know this video or this podcast in about a week's time is going to be filled with Seahawks fans in the comments going, hey, you got it wrong. And I'm like, look, if this is how you enjoy a win, that's fine. I would much rather go out and have a drink and go, woo, and start singing fight songs. But you know what? Beggars can't be choosers. So... Let's start at the broadest talking point, okay, which is the fact the Eagles did play the Seahawks earlier this year in a 17-9 loss in Week 12. So I went back, I watched the film because what else am I going to do over a holiday period, okay? I mean, it's me. So, couple of takeaways from that game. Number one, a lot of people forget that was the game Andre Dillard attempted, and I mean attempted, to play right tackle. Now, bless his little heart, Lane Johnson was out, and instead of Jason Peters moving over, they gave it to Dillard, someone who before the game, who 3 days before the game, went out and said, oh, it's horrible, I hate it, this is the worst. He didn't say that, but he gave off the impression that this is very, very difficult. I'm not a fan of it. I'm really not looking forward to this. And believe it or not, he was dreadful. He was giving away the play every single snap. If you saw the episode of This Week in Philadelphia Sports at the time, he had his feet, his stance were giving plays away. He was like, 1 minute they were like widespread apart, the other minute they were vertical. It was so dead obvious as to what the Eagles were going to do. KJ Wright, but they all fed off it. They all absolutely fed off it. So that happened. Also, in that same game, the receiving corps, we had Greg Ward Jr. He was out, that was his first kind of emergence. But Jordan Matthews was on the roster. And I'm not a big Jordan Matthews hater, you know, I'm a very, very big fan of Jordan Matthews as a person, as a player. But it didn't work this time round. It didn't work this time round. And there was still the J.J. Arthur-Whiteside experiment going on. The receiving corps from that game was dire. And the problem was that for me, that was almost a turning point. This was the start of the catalyst, a transition, if you will, where the Eagles were attempting to find an identity now. Where the offense was, apart from making Carson Wentz a field general and to sit back there in the pocket in the midst of war, taking all shots and ducking and diving and flinging while standing in there with rock-solid thighs, they started to, I think, after this game, begin moving him around. It took a while. It took a while. I think Miami was definitely the main turning point. But you saw a couple glimpses of, why aren't they doing that more? Why is this a thing? Like, what's going on there? Okay? But, positive from that game. 11 quarterback hits, 6 sacks. Malcolm Jenkins had 4 quarterback hits on his own. This we're going to come back to a bit later on. But we're now going to move on to point number 2, which is that Carson Wentz has proven everyone wrong this year. Like, without a shadow of a doubt, Carson Wentz has proven every single person wrong. We've had the Carson Wentz isn't clutch. Carson Wentz isn't a leader. Carson Wentz can't do my washing for me. Carson Wentz, he shoots animals. Carson Wentz has a beard. I can't grow a right. It's any criticism possible, alright? Carson Wentz could walk down the street and someone would tell him off because, whoa, hang on, you stepped on the crack of that sidewalk. Oh, that's bad luck for you. My quarterback will go straight square for square. No cracks in the walk, baby. We're going straight square. Wentz has done everything imaginable to lift this team. I've seen more from Carson Wentz in the last maybe month or so than I have in 3 years, than I did in all of 2017. Someone that has stepped up. And if you remember the criticisms, right, if Wentz not taking shots downfield or not putting the ball in Aguilar's hands or not trying to trust those receivers, or does he trust his receivers, right? You're seeing him now take shots on Deontay Burnett, Joshua Perkins, and Robert Davis. And apart from the Robert Davis one that got called back, they're working. Wentz is willing to take those shots. In the red zone, he is 19-0 in terms of touchdowns and interceptions. He is the first quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards in Eagles history. And I don't fully agree with ESP and the whole the 500 receiver argument is invalid. But I do think having Zach Ertz, who nearly has 1,000 to his name, does negate it a bit. Doesn't it? That's like saying, hey, you won the fourth best league in England with Lionel Messi on your team. So well done. That's good. Like, it does it. If it was literally Dallas Goedert and Josh Perkins, fair enough, have that. But it's not. But the point is, we're not taking down Carson Wentz, right? We're lifting him up. We're gassing him up because he has been absolutely money. All right, and that goes back to the offensive evolution. It goes back to that team really beginning to move momentum around and to build this team around Wentz. Instead of having Wentz build it for the playmakers, it became Wentz is the team. Like, there is no one else. Carson Wentz is the damn team at this point, so let's make it the Carson Wentz show. Let's get him on sprint outs and rollouts. We're throwing on the run. He's among the best in the league. We're play action. We're outside of the pocket where he can make magic happen. He shines, and that's what he's doing. He's putting players in a position to make plays because of how much confidence he's got, I think, in his own ability right now. It might not necessarily be, hey, I think Greg Ward Jr. is the next Julio Jones, but it is damn sure not, I'm going to sit here in the pocket and I have to rely on Nelson Aguilar catching this ball. I have to rely on Nelson Aguilar gaining separation. I have to rely on Alshon Jeffrey jumping more than an inch in the air. Like, this is a different kind of team right now where Wentz is able to lead those receivers, to make a lot of calls at the line of scrimmage, and more than anything, just give this team a shot. So I'm very impressed with Carson Wentz. That's reason number 2, because when you compare Wentz and Russell Wilson, over the last month or so, Russell Wilson has suffered a dip in form. We're going to get to that a little bit later. But point number 3, the venue. Alright, believe it or not, at home in the playoffs in the postseason era, the Eagles are 5-0 against the spread. Now, on that note, very, very quickly, myself and Philly Sports Network have been selected to take part in a challenge with Bet America, who are launching in Pennsylvania. They're very friendly to us. No free money, unfortunately, just yet. But we have been pitted against Crossing Broad, so Kyle Scott, Kevin Kincaid, who I love, in basically a pick'em challenge from now till the Super Bowl. Whoever gets the most right gets $1,000, so we're just going to basically spend it on gifts for you guys and pay loads of our writers some little bonuses. Like, well, I'm not greedy, I don't need it. Like, I'm just happy with where I am. So if we do win, luckily, Dano's going to give like maybe 5 t-shirts away and then give the rest to my writers. I might keep like a little bit and, I don't know what I do. But it'll be nice. We'll do some nice things with it if we win. But more importantly, one of my picks was the Eagles plus 1.5. So if you are a betting man, I genuinely feel that with the result of that last game they had in week 12, seeing how everything's changed, 5-0 against the spread at home. Seattle have got to come to Philadelphia. Likely rainy, likely cold, very hostile, raucous Philadelphia crowd who for the first time all year believe in this team. It will be noisy, alright? We have heard the boos, we have heard the snooze, we have heard the lose, we have heard the glues, alright? We have heard everything in between, and now the Eagles, I think the fans are beginning to believe. And if I could quote the Mighty Charlton song for a solid 0.7 seconds, that has no relevance to anything other than the colour. Like, we'll change the colour to green, alright? And now you won't believe us, but the Reds are going up. And it is that vibe of like, do you know what? We're back again. No one believes us, but we do. Like, we believe this team at home with us cheering them on, being that 12th man. Screw Seattle. Screw their 12th man. Screw their song and the Seahawks. Hawks, you've got a 2-syllable word, you've chanted it. Well done. Come up with something better, yeah? Like, I think the Eagles fans have got a little bit more intimidation. I think they can probably try and get into Russell Wilson's head a bit, distract that offense, try and take some of the complexion out of it, and more importantly, just give them life. On that note, the Seahawks have had a drop in form. Obviously, the main question is going to be surrounding Marshawn Lynch, alright? Like, he's had one game in around a year and a half. That was okay, but he is 87 years old and built like a bowling ball. So we don't know how that well's going to go. The other guy, Travis Homer, was a 6th round rookie this year. So does Pete Carroll trust him to ride the run game if there is no other option? If Lynch can't do it, if Lynch can't hit the holes as he used to, if he can't burst through and break tackles in open space as he used to. The problem is that the Philly run defense has been magnificent all season long. Like, whether we like the defense or not, whether we love the pass defense or not, it has been magnificent all season long. And that hasn't changed, all right? And again, we go back to that Week 12 game where you had, I think it was 11 QB hits and 6 sacks. That's fantastic in one aspect, but now you're looking at that Seahawks line without starting left tackle Dwayne Brown. There's a chance they're going to be without their starting left guard, and over the last 2 weeks, they allowed 8 QB hits and 5 sacks against the Cardinals. The Cardinals had 5 sacks and 8 hits, alright? The Niners had 9 hits. They didn't get a sack. We'll leave the sack bit. But they have 9 QB hits, okay? If the Eagles can stop the run, and they can force Russell Wilson, who the wheels have come off a little bit, alright? I know they've had a couple bad calls in that Niners game, and it was a chaotic ending, and they're still an amazing team, and this, that, and the other. But Wilson hasn't been as electrifying as he was through those first few weeks, whereas Wentz has gone from very unelectrifying to touch him and going, like very jolty, you know? On that note as well, some interesting stats. Tyler Lockett, who's obviously been the staple of their passing attack, outside of Mr. Metcalf, who I wish was playing in Eagles green, but unfortunately not. 8 targets a game, 6.6 receptions a game, 85 yards, and he's had 6 touchdowns so far between weeks 1 and 9. That's between 1 and 9, okay? 8 targets a game, 6 receptions, averaging 85 yards a game. And he had 6 touchdowns between week 1 and 9. Week 10 and 17, 5 targets a game, 3.3 receptions a game, so that's slashed in half. 41 receiving yards, that's slashed in half, and 2 touchdowns. That's not good. That is not good at all, baby. That is not a good look. And if we go back to the offense on the Eagles side of things, which is point number 5, there's been a total change in identity. This is not an Andre Dillard at right tackle offense anymore. This is an offense where Miles Sanders has become the first... I need to read this out because I'm going to get the stats wrong and I don't want to do him any injustice whatsoever. Since 1965, only 2 players have had 800 yards rushing, 500 yards receiving, and a minimum of 4.5 yards per carry as a rookie. One of them Saquon Barkley, one of them Miles Sanders. He is the first Eagle in 66 years to lead the NFL, or the NFL rookies in scrimmage yards. It has been absolutely amazing. Over the last month or so, he's stood up in the absence of Jordan Howard. He's made himself an impact and he has been blistering with his play. There is no doubting that Miles Sanders has been excellent. But I think contributing to that has been play action. Like, it used to be Miles Sanders in the shotgun. And obviously we spoke about this on another podcast. But if you've got Sanders in the shotgun, what you're naturally going to have is someone that, as we've all alluded to, is a bit slow decision making. Alright, he sits at the dinner, he's looking at the menu, he can't decide what he wants. He's like, do I have an appetizer, do I have a starter, do I not, do I just go in the main, do I want chicken, do I want fish? He's not sure, and by the time he's worked it out, it's a little bit too late and he's ran straight into the back of his guard. What we're seeing now is, hey, Miles, get another 3 yards back, right behind me, so you can stare at my bum while I twerk and get the snap, alright, says Carson. Miles gets the ball, now like 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and if you're slow at decision making and you have more time to make a decision, it's naturally going to help you. So Sanders has got more time to see the lines ahead, more time to see where the holes open up, and shoot, and he's going, and it has helped massively. Now, a direct knock from that, and a butterfly effect, is if you've got Carson Wentz turning around in what looks to be play action looks, or RPOs, or whatever you want to call them, where he just hands it off, but it could be a pass, you know. RPO was a buzzword last year. This year it just seems to be, I don't know. Is there a buzzword this year in the NFL other than dodgy PI calls? And I don't know. Anyway, point is, it's going to open up play action passing, right? So you have to account for Miles Sanders. And if all those linebackers crunch in towards the line of scrimmage and Wentz rolls outside and you've got Sayamalo following out as a lead, that last man standing, You've then got Carson Wentz in open space. You're buying time. You're distracting attention from linebackers and corners over the middle who are maybe in zone coverage. And you're giving Carson Wentz a chance. And it's working. You're seeing a lot more design sprint outs, design rollouts, way more screen passes. So it's a moment in this year where there were no screens whatsoever. This Eagles offense has an identity, and it is called Carson Wentz. It is get him into whatever position he needs to make a play. Get him rolled out, get him sprinted out, get him in a scenario where against a young, a feisty Seattle defense, you can take advantage, you can draw their attention. If they were predictable as anything in week 12, you're not seeing that this time. Because even I don't know what's coming from this Eagles offense, all apart from a lot of sprint outs and rollouts. But they're keeping Carson Wentz on the move. They're giving him a shot. And I think when you combine all of that together, what you have is an Eagles team with a new identity, with a trust and belief in their franchise quarterback that hadn't been there for whatever reason from the likes of Jeffrey and Aguilar. And I'm not singling them out. I'm not saying the Joe Cena stuff, but for whatever reason, it didn't click. It didn't work. So they've remolded it in the same way the offense was simplified for Nick Foles. They've simplified it and molded it around Carson Wentz, and it is thriving with a bunch of guys that shouldn't be thriving, giving them an underdog mentality. Josh Perkins, there are 13 guys who are practice squad promotees. From the likes of Craig James on defense, to Joshua Perkins on offense, to Greg Ward Jr., it is non-stop. And I don't think it stops there. I think this is going to be a real big challenge for this Seahawks team to come into a hostile Lincoln Financial Field to an Eagles team that has faced a few cupcake opponents, but has used that to find an identity, to find a base to build on. And if they don't win, they'll give them a damn good showing, a damn good game along the way. But I have every belief that this team will come out of this as a victor. I don't see a way they don't. It will be... Okay, it'll be close. It'll be a nail-biter, I think. It'll be like a fourth quarter, one-score affair. But they'll be in it. They're not going to get blown out. They're not going to get embarrassed. I think they're going to make a very good account for themselves. And for a team that's decimated by injury, that's all you could ask for. But those are the reasons why I think the Eagles can win this matchup. We're now 20 minutes into the show, which means it is time for Thank You Next. So if you're on YouTube, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. The full show will be out later. If you're not on YouTube, hello. We're now doing ASMR level Liam. And we're going to talk about Thank You Next and answer all of your questions from the Twitterverse. So from myself, Liam Jenkins, if you're on YouTube, see you soon. If you're not on YouTube, hello. Thank you next.